Welcome to the Beyond the Vines podcast, where I interview local business owners in Sonoma County to highlight small business and grow our community. I'm your host, Amy Ehlers, a mom, realtor, and Sonoma County native, and I'm excited to connect you to some amazing people in this beautiful area that we call home. Welcome back to the Beyond the Vines podcast. Thank you again so much for listening and for tuning in. Today's episode is really special. I know we usually focus on small businesses, but I also really like to bring organizations in as well, local organizations. And I am here today with Larkin O'Leary of the Common Ground Society. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this amazing person across from me before we start interviewing. But Larkin O'Leary is the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of the Common Ground Society. Larkin received her credential through CSU Chico in 2004 and has taught at various grades ranging from pre-K through 8th, which already makes you a saint that you were a teacher, and has won several awards in her educational career. Since resigning to care for her son, who was born with Down syndrome, hearing loss, and a list of medical issues, Larkin has completed hundreds of presentations to a wide variety of audiences about how to increase inclusion in society. Most recently, she completed her first TEDx talk titled Fostering Differences on Common Ground and wrote a children's book, Want to Play. She is a passionate educator turned advocate who will change the way we view and interact with people who are disabled. My kids have been really fortunate to have Larkin and the Common Ground Society speak at their school. I have seen her in other places, and we're just so lucky to have you in our office today. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really appreciative of all that you do for our community. I think a lot of people are, so thank you. Can you tell me what inspired you to found the Common Ground Society and when this all started?
Yeah, I didn't mean to. It's not something, running a nonprofit is not something I ever wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I'm a teacher and have wanted to be a teacher since 4th grade. But when I had my son, James, I felt alone. Right. And so Common Ground Society has 2 pillars that it lies on. One of them is family support. And that was started in 2018. I started a Facebook group of people I had met in the hospital. James has had 30 surgeries and hundreds of days in the hospital. And we met a lot of people that were traveling this path alone. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to gather my people.
Amazing.
Started with like 30 people in that group, and we would meet for donuts and discussion and talk about, the medical system and the educational system. And that group has grown to almost 1,000 local Sonoma County families.
That's amazing.
Who have any sort of unique need. So it's not diagnosis specific. Although James has Down syndrome, and there's an incredible Down syndrome community here and everywhere. I was dealing with something very different. With all his medical stays, coming home with G-tube or on oxygen. And although I was surrounded by a sea of support, I just found that no one really understood what I was going through, except for these people I had met in the hospital. So we now do family meetups, moms meetups, dads meetups, siblings groups, all sorts of different touch points throughout the month. The second piece of Common Ground Society is our presentations, which is a lot of fun. What started as a presentation in my son's preschool. My friend Jessica has a daughter with Down syndrome, so we did a presentation for World Down Syndrome Day, and the Press Democrat came and did a story. All my teacher friends saw, and they love to exploit people. Just kidding. Teachers are amazing. No, they asked us to come do presentations in their classroom, and it just too many classrooms. We started whole school assemblies. Lo and behold, now we've hit over almost 65,000 students in Sonoma, Napa, Marin. We've been flown down to San Diego. We're going up to Bend, Oregon.
Amazing.
We focus on a multitude of disabilities now. So our first presentation we have for elementary focuses on visible disabilities. Our second presentation focuses on invisible disabilities. And then our third presentation is around the book that I wrote, which is all about Sonoma County kids, local kids who are pictured by a local Amy Cathcart, a local photographer.
She's a good friend of mine.
And she's amazing.
Yes, she's incredible.
She is such a great photographer for our families. And so she's the illustrator of my book. And talks about what to do when you go to a park, and you see someone and you're curious. The tagline is just say hi and follow their lead. So it's sort of in 2018 is when it all started. In 2020, we were like, oh, you want to give us money for doing this? Because we were just paying out of pocket and doing the thing. And I'm a teacher, so I don't value my own time.
Right.
And
So it's a lesson you learned over time.
Yes. So we dove into the nonprofit world, and since then it's just been like we've been shot out of a cannon. We've done almost 100 presentations to community events. Like I was the keynote speaker to Sonoma County Office of Education. Amazing. Welcome Back. We've done California SELPA, Kaiser Grand Rounds, Smile Orthodontist. I always say anybody who will listen, because I feel like my tagline is you don't know what you don't know until you know. And you really can't understand unless you have a connection. Connection is that key to inclusion.
Yep. Absolutely. That is beautiful. The different phases that you kind of teach of those lessons, you were talking about the 3 lessons that you kind of go into the schools with. Are those, you come 3 times and do that, or is that just different age groups that you're teaching those different
Great question. They are 3 different times coming. Okay. Yeah. The first presentation we sort of blocked off as like the TK through 1st, 2nd grade is a little bit of a shorter presentation, and the older grades is a little bit longer of a presentation. My favorite part about the presentations, though, is the question time. So we also have middle school and high school presentations, and we just did our first big high school presentation. Oh, wow. And we had 650, groups of 650 kids from Petaluma High School. And at the end of our presentation, we had 2 girls raise their hand, and they both said, you know, I'm neurodivergent and I really appreciate you coming and talking about this. And under both circumstances, the entire crowd started clapping for them.
Amazing.
And then the second person who said it, I said, well, what is something that you want your community to know? Because I really believe in empowering our students. They're our future. They're the ones that need to help us as the adults who are messing everything up.
Yes.
Really fix it so that when they become the adults, they are on to the next problem. So she felt really nervous. So I was like, well, how does, what if your community just learned your name and said hi to you? Would that make you feel good? And she was like, I would really just love to make some friends. I don't have any friends. And again, everyone clapped. And the best part was after the assembly, it wasn't just like a superficial everyone clapping for her. It was a group of people went up to her afterwards and were introducing themselves. I watched it. I wasn't a part of it, but it was just so awesome to see
that.
Yeah.
And also, like, remind yourself, don't forget these things. That's because of you. You brought that there. So that's amazing. Yeah. And I hope that helps you as you continue, because this is not easy, this road that you're on. So I think hopefully you keep those things in mind. That's you.
Yeah.
So that's
thank
incredible.
you.
Amazing. So in what ways does Common Ground Society promote inclusivity and a sense of belonging for individuals with disabilities and their families? So that would be a good example of it. But do you have any, more that you can describe of local support and any meaningful connections you can provide as a service?
Yeah. So one of the things that I do as I'm learning, I mean, I have ADHD, but I don't have a lived experience of someone with autism or someone with mobility challenges, or, I mean, aside from right now with my hurt
with your foot, you're getting a little piece of what it's like to have a mobility challenge.
The thing that I always love to say is, disability is the only minority anyone can fall into at any moment, yet it is the least talked about when we talk about DEI. So one of the things I always like to say is following and learning from disabled adults on what it is that we're missing in our community, because things like ramps or space, how wide things need to be, or different things that help our whole community be able to access our whole community is so important. And we won't think of those things unless we're in it, you know. One of the things that I'm really proud of is the Epicenter in Santa Rosa. They have been following us since the beginning. They've been huge supporters. They throw during the winter, because we don't have a space large enough yet for our family meetups. We're constantly moving to different places. We are on the lookout for I have a North Star that I want to. I know it's a big dream I've got for Sonoma County, but
that's amazing.
Until then, the Epicenter has been amazing, and they installed adult-sized changing tables in their bathrooms, which, if you have a child who's over 33 pounds, they cannot go on the small baby changing tables. And that leaves a huge majority of our community unable to be at a space for longer than an hour and a half, or however long, right?
Yep.
And so
that would have never occurred to me, by the way.
Right?
Yeah,
me
that's
either,
amazing.
until I'm a part of this community.
Exactly.
And They gutted one of their party rooms, which they could be making money off of every weekend, but they gutted it and created a sensory room.
That's
so
incredible.
If people are, I mean, I get overstimulated in that arcade. And so you can go in there. There's swings and crash pads, and we help them kind of organize all the different things that they have in there. They have headphones available and glasses available. I mean, they just really have helped our community. And the biggest thing, they threw this Easter egg hunt for us. Kaiser sponsored an New Year's Day. They're throwing us an Easter egg hunt.
Oh, fun.
But the New Year's Day party, we had a family who normally when we go there, we go to the arcade, and in the back there, they have the climbing area.
Yes, yeah.
And so one of the kids at our party that was where he was going to go, going to the epicenter, going to the climbing wall.
Right.
But we weren't. So he was having a meltdown, and the mom was trying to console him. And one of the staff members came up to the mom and said, "You're doing a great job, Mom. We see you. How can we support you?" And those words, when you're a mom, like
that's what every mom wants to hear,
right? And it's not just for our families who have kids with disabilities, but it's really just creating a community of belonging for all. I mean, these things that we put in place for our families are helpful for everyone.
Agree.
And so, just being aware of it and knowing is kind of the first step. And so that's what we do is, I'm not afraid to go out there and tell my story. I'm not afraid to talk to people about what our community is asking for. And so that's what I do. Just go out there and just talk.
That's
why I'm losing my voice.
I know. And why you have an injured foot.
Yes. I mean, yes.
Well, they are lucky to have you as the voice, so that's incredible. So what inspired you and Jessica to expand your focus beyond Down syndrome, because you both have children who have Down syndrome, to encompass a wide range of diagnoses? Can you share some memorable moments or experiences that influenced that decision?
Yeah. So just knowing that our community is made up of so many different people, and knowing myself, I didn't know anything about Tourette's syndrome. I didn't know anything. All I knew was that they would shout obscenities, which is just not the actual truth.
It's like the movie
version
of it.
It's like the movie version of all the things.
Yes.
And I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to learn. And I wanted to help our community learn. And we found this book, Faith Has Freckles and Walter Has Wheels, but Did You Know? By Shannon Dee, who is a Canadian author. And she let us use her book in our assemblies.
Wow.
And it was a great start because it was short, sweet, to the point, but it started the conversation.
Nice.
And then as we continued, people would say, well, it's great to talk about visible disabilities, but what about invisible disabilities? And it's true. Like, what about them? So then we started talking about the second presentation, Tourette's syndrome, ADHD, autism, and different disabilities like that. As a teacher, I know that I loved my kids. It was my passion, my hobby, my first love.
Right.
It's every piece of me is being a teacher, but I know that in my heart, I did not think I could teach kids with disabilities. I thought when someone had autism, it was a one-size-fits-all approach. RSP teacher, what grade do I give them? I didn't get it. And I certainly didn't think people with Down syndrome could learn the way that I know they can now. I just didn't get it. And I want to shout that message from the rooftops. My son is just a kid. All kids are just kids, whether they can speak back to you, whether they communicate the way you and I do, whether they can walk or any of it, they're human beings. And, I'm ashamed that was my thought, but now that I know better, I'm really trying to do better. And again, shout it from the rooftops.
It's amazing. And I appreciate you coming on here so that we can all do better. And just in general in our community, voicing that, because it's true. Like we were saying, it wasn't your experience, so you didn't know it yet. You don't know what you don't know.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's amazing. Your mission is centered around sharing stories to educate and empower the community. How have you seen these stories impact families and individuals, whether they're the ones you're teaching or the families that use your services or that connect with you?
Yeah, I think being able to share our own vulnerable stories allows people to really go into themselves and think about what they've done in the past, right? So if I'm not someone who's perfect, and I just outright say it, and it allows people to be like, oh, I was wrong too, versus the people thinking that I've always known what, I've always known these different things. And I think that's really allowed for conversations to start and allows for people to understand where, other people are coming from and seeing different points of view.
Yes.
My big thing is collaboration. Collaboration is key. We have to understand that people like teachers and educators and principals and even district office, like those people don't get into education for the money. Right. They're not getting into it to try and screw our kids over, but it's our system. Right. And so it takes all of us working together, not against each other, to like fix this system that I hesitate to even say broken, because that would imply that it ever worked in the first place, which it did not. I mean, I may or may not have been on the speed dial of my principal when I was in elementary school. I'm a pretty successful adult. Like the world needs all kinds of people. So the box that we're in and we put people in these days, we need to open that box. Yeah. Just let the people out.
I love it. Yeah. I love that. Like that description of it too. It's very visual. I love that. How do you collaborate with schools and educators to raise awareness? We talked about you coming in. Do you help the staff at all? Do you have programs for the staff so that they can learn? I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, so we have student presentations. We also have staff presentations. So one specifically for teachers, where we really focus on universal design for learning and the importance behind that. And the best way I can describe what universal design for learning is, if you think about the curb cutouts, you know what I'm talking about? Those are for people in wheelchairs to have access, right? But who else do they help?
Strollers.
Who else, right? Runners, skateboarders. Like the list is endless. That little modification. So why would adding visuals for my son not benefit other kids in the class?
Especially because everybody learns so differently. That could absolutely help somebody else. Yeah.
And so all of these different supports and things that they make for my son really help everyone. And so we talk about that. And I talk about my own mindset shift from when I was the educator, believing that, to who I am today, and that mindset shift, helping to create a bridge to belonging. We say that there's all these things that need to be in place, but the keystone is that mindset. And then we also help people like the certificated staff understand that they are the ones that the kids are looking to, right? So when they come up to them and they say, why does Tommy look weird? You know, you have to feel confident in saying, oh, you're asking why he looks different, right? And how to rephrase those questions and how to help the kids feel okay with feeling discomfort, but also encouraging them to just say hi and follow their lead, right? Just say hi, just smile.
Such good advice.
If the person doesn't talk back, that's okay. There's usually someone there who can help. And even if not, we all want to feel like we belong.
Yep. I think that's such good advice. I think too, because you have the teaching background, that must help kind of break down barriers for other teachers, because our teachers are so overwhelmed as it is.
Yes.
They have so much on their plates, but to see that you have been them as well, you know, and you've been in that position and you admit that you maybe handled it differently than you would now. Like, I think that's got to break down a lot of barriers. So that's really beneficial.
You know, and it's important to understand that like teachers get thrown everything. You need to be the counselor now. You need to try this new curriculum, and then that curriculum's done, new curriculum, and then we got to try this and that and the other. And it's like, we don't compensate them. And that's like one of the big things that I fight for when I'm talking to Sonoma County Office of Education or SELPA is, we need to compensate teachers for their times. We need to value them, and we need to continue to support them, because when we offer a training on universal design for learning, let's say, and then you go back to you're all pumped and like here for it, and then you go back to try it and it doesn't work, or something happens that you didn't talk about, what are you going to do? You're gonna, oh, well, that didn't work, right? We need continual support. And so I really advocate for teachers to be supported, compensated, and valued, because they are.
Such a great reminder. I love that. Yeah, I agree. Could you share some insights into the challenges and obstacles faced with individuals with disabilities and their families, and how Common Ground Society addresses these challenges? I mean, there's such a range. I can't even...
I mean, anything from medical to educational, but also just in our community. Things like watching new playgrounds be built and there being bark in the playgrounds. They have an accessible feature, but the people who have they can't get to them. You know, I was like looking at the park people send out a thing that's like this park or that park, this park or that park, and I was looking at one of them. And they had all bark in the park except for like this much. And there was a person with a wheelchair sitting on it. And I'm like, so you're thinking of people with disabilities, but you are not making it so that, and it's, you know, they can like access it, or like the grandparents can like push their kids on the swing, you know, or like my son is 9, he'll be 10. He's getting big. He cannot fit in bucket swings anymore.
Great.
And my son loves swinging. And when we go to a park and there's no swing for him, there's not only like meltdown, and that sucks, but like that's so sad.
It is
like,
sad.
It's a park. Like we love to swing.
We all need to access the park. Yeah.
I mean, I still sit on the
swing in our backyard. I'm not gonna lie.
And it's like, so why don't we? You know, my big advice for our community is think about who's not sitting at the table. I know we talk about race and gender and all of that kind of stuff, but really considering all minorities, because disability often gets left off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we're making accessible communities, you need to have someone in the community and multiple different types of people, because there are multiple different types of disabilities. You know, what's interesting is the intellectual disability community and the physical disability community, they don't even like, they're not not like the
connected.
Same, right?
No,
and so you have to like think about that as you're, you know, moving through, and adding those little pieces is going to add so much more value to your business or our community.
Yeah. Which is who this is all for, right? Yeah. So you're leaving out a major part.
Right. I mean, amazing. It's a quarter of our community is disabled.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Say that one more time for everybody.
25% of our community. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very important to keep that in mind. So the term Just Two Moms became associated with you and Jessica as you started your journey. How has your organization grown and evolved since its early days?
Oh, man. Well, since, you know, in its early days, the first 2 years, until 2022, I volunteered my time, 100% of my time. You know, 7 million hours a day. Doing social media, the website, doing the presentations, meeting with people. Jessica has always been, I'm not a good planner, like of parties. Like I forgot my daughter's candles at her 4th birthday. Like that's what
detail.
I do. Right? That's how I feel. However, she didn't feel the same. So, you know, I've been doing a lot, and I'm excited that we've been able to hire some staff. We're still not quite where we need to be to keep up with the demand, unfortunately, but we're getting there. And I can breathe and start doing some of the things that I want to be doing. We have partnered and been able to communicate with people who have more influence in our community. Good. So working with Sonoma County Office of Education and SELPA and school districts in particular. Good. Our families have grown. So from 30 people in the group to now almost 1,000. Wow. We give out more hospital bags. So I forgot to mention that. I was going to
ask you about the hospital bags, so I'm glad you brought that up.
We do hospital bags for families going in for surgeries, long hospital stays, or someone who's newly diagnosed in the hospital. And I generally just post on my page, anyone going to Oakland, right? And come pick up a bag, please, and take one with you.
That's awesome, and people are helping with that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, one of them was 17 seconds it took to like.
Oh my gosh.
I posted, someone's like, I'm going there right now. And I'm like, great, come by the office. And they just grabbed it and went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That is just amazing. Do you have any opportunities for volunteers as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have our family meetups, which is always nice to have a second set of hands. You know, maybe I would love to have someone come and do an art lesson at each one or something.
That's a great idea.
Also, just to give the parents a break. There's oftentimes kids that are runners. They just want to run around, right? And the parent can't sit there and actually connect with another parent because they're busy running around with their kids. So we have volunteers that will run with the kid, right?
That's fantastic.
And play with them up in the, you know, at the playground or wherever we happen to be. We have these numerous groups like our 0 to 5 group, which it would be great to have some more hands there. Okay. Putting our hospital bags together or being on a hospital bag list for people to contact if you're willing to go take the hospital bag. Translation is a big one.
That's gotta be huge.
We translate everything. And so we have a committee, but the more people that we can add to that committee to just throw it over and hopefully get it back quickly, like our newsletter and different things that we want to post would be amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a really good point as well. So that's great too for anybody looking for a volunteer.
Yeah, we have our Easter egg hunt coming up, as well as our gala. So we'll be looking for volunteers to help with the gala, help with the in-kind donations, and that is our, every year.
Amazing. So what are some of the key initiatives or programs that you're currently working on, and how, other than volunteering, which we mentioned, can people get involved or support your mission? I know we briefly before the podcast talked about sponsors.
Yes.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. So for our gala, we're always looking for sponsors. It makes my heart so happy to see how many of our community members believe in our mission and stand behind it with sponsorships of the gala and different events, things like that. One of the things we're working on, which I'm really excited, is our new Inclusive Spaces grant that we wrote through the county. And so 4 now of the 5 districts we got approved by one district, and that person told the next district, who called us and said, hey, can we do it? And then that person called the third person.
Wow.
And then the 4th person we're doing through the Travel and Tourism Fund. And what it is having us come in to your business and talking about inclusivity and sharing our stories, doing our presentation, which is always catered to whatever it is, right? So you're in real estate, we would maybe talk about how to communicate with people who are non-speaking. Maybe they have a different way of communicating. Maybe they have mobility needs. Maybe there's something you can add to your forms or things like that to recognize those things and let people know you're just at least being cognizant of it. We give all of the people who we do this presentation to an adult size changing cot and a stool, as well as a backpack filled with different sensory needs. So items.
Like to keep in the office?
Headphones. Yeah.
That's
so
brilliant.
if you have a kid or an adult or a teen or a human come into your office and needs some support,
that's amazing.
You're ready.
What a good idea.
So really excited to get started with that.
Wow. That is really, and also too that you've had like the amount of support and word of mouth even with that. That's this community is so brilliant with that. I feel like everybody is so hands-on and helpful, and we just are really lucky for that reason.
We I do have my big North Star, which I'm still.
Yes, I want to know about this.
Let me tell you my secret. So we are constantly booked, right? And not only are we booked with our presentations, but then as well as our meetups, we have a lot of families. And so what I want to develop is a large scale accessible park. So I need like 3 to 5 acres.
Okay, not anything big.
No, and like maybe like just 30 million if you happen to know anyone.
All right, this is totally
possibility.
doable.
There are people. I hear.
There definitely are.
But so. What I want to do is create a large-scale accessible park.
Amazing.
Because there is none. In Sonoma County, there is no park I can take my families to that is fully accessible. The Miracle League is very close.
Okay.
But it's not fully fenced in, which makes it hard because there's 2 openings. So it makes it hard for our families with elopers that you don't even think about that.
To fix that?
That's a good question. I should reach out to them and ask.
I think that would be great.
But so a large scale accessible park, I'm talking like an acre.
Right. Larger than the Miracle League Park.
Yes. We would have a presentation hall next to that park so that our families, our community, our students, our schools, everyone can come to our presentations. They can go out to the playground. And they can see that accessible for all does not mean less for anyone. It just means everyone gets to be included. Then we'll come back in and I'm going to have 5 classrooms. 3 of those classrooms are going to be dedicated to sensory sensitivity and disability experiences. So helping our community understand, why is it that Johnny acts up when you put him at the back table for math? You don't realize it, but the air conditioning clicks on, and that causes his brain to dysregulate, and he quite literally cannot focus on anything you're doing. He's not trying to get out of math. He just cannot focus. And then 2 more classrooms that I hope to make escape rooms. So I would think like 4th grade and up, they can come and they can make these classrooms accessible and culturally appropriate for our times, starting a conversation with, why is it that poster is inappropriate? Why do we need this amount of space? Why X, Y, and Z? And really being able to talk about these experiences. I mean, big dream, I would love to have like a farm on it where we could have adults and teens with disabilities being docents and running the farm and helping our community with nutrition and things like that. So I got big dreams. It's going to happen.
I honestly don't doubt you for a second. No, I cannot wait to come and visit this. Yeah. It's going to be amazing. Sure that you're going to make it happen.
Yep.
Yeah. And for anyone listening too, if they were to want to help with that in any way, just to contact you.
Yes, please. Our website, commongroundsociety.org, has all of our contact information. And we're looking for people to support this because just like running this nonprofit, I feel like the one thing I've learned the most is that everything is made up and nothing's real. Right. So like I didn't know what I was doing starting a nonprofit. We're 4 years in and now have staff, and we have this gala that, the first year it sold out in 14 days with 50 people on the wait list.
That's amazing. And
the second year it sold out in 10 days with 20 people on the wait list. And so I'm only imagining this year when tickets go on sale in March, it's going to go very quickly.
That's incredible.
But it's all figure-outable. That's the other one I've learned out.
I love that. It's all figure-outable.
It is.
I say that to my kids. I'm like, there's always a solution. Yeah. I'm going to use figure-outable. I like that better.
I mean, that's a word, right? Yeah.
It is now. I love that. So are there any other important things that we didn't touch on that you would love for listeners to hear?
I think the biggest thing for our listeners, or your listeners, to know about is disability can be a scary thing. When you see people you don't know or understand, or you don't know how to interact, or you're feeling nervous, like we all feel that way.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yep.
It's okay to sit in that discomfort. But the one thing that we teach is don't stare. That's what I was always taught as a kid. Like, don't stare. Shh, don't stare. Come here. Right. But we teach don't stare, show you care. And it's as simple as just smiling and saying hi, looking up from your phone when you're walking down the street, and just acknowledging existence of human beings, disabled, non-disabled, doesn't matter. We all want to feel like we belong.
Yes, I love that.
And, the thing we teach in schools is that just smile, say hi, ask questions to find similarities. You will probably have something in common with just about anyone.
Yeah.
What if they can't or don't talk back? That's okay. There's usually someone there who can help. And even if not, we're certain they appreciate just being seen.
Yeah.
And lastly, being the one to bring it up, right? To stand up. If you see someone being left out or mistreated, or being ignored or not being a part of a conversation, be the one to bring them in.
Yes.
Our big mission is to create a community of belonging in Sonoma County, and we can't do that with everyone just moving the needle a little bit, right? It's a slow moving ship, but we got to give it fuel, and that's what you and I need to do.
Yep. And I think going into schools the way that you are too, that really helps, because that's the next generation that we need to get on board with that for sure. Yeah. For sure. We have that conversation every day. Did you see anyone sitting by themselves? What did you do? Like, what'd you bring up with them?
Yeah.
Did you go hang out with them? Like, I just think that's so beautiful. So, finally, you mentioned it earlier where we can find your website, but can you tell us your social, if anybody wants to reach out to you, where they can get a hold of you?
Yeah. So, our website is commongroundsociety.org. Our Facebook and YouTube is just at Common Ground Society. I think our LinkedIn is as well. Okay. And then Instagram is at Common Ground Society, but it has periods between common and ground, and between ground and society. And
I can put those links in the show note too.
That'd be great.
All of that. Happy to.
And I think that's it. And then I have the TEDx talk, which is a great one. It's a great one to watch. It might be a little biased, but so it'd be great to watch and share. It's called Fostering Differences on Common Ground.
Yeah, if everybody can share that,
I would
just
love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's only been about 4 years, but I don't know what Sonoma County did without you. So thank you. For all you do.
I mean, it's a team effort. Yeah. I could not do it without our community behind us. Well, I mean, it's our entire team. So thanks
you for being the voice.
Yeah, I'm so honored to be able to be here and doing all of this work.
Thank you, Larkin, for coming on. It was so good to see you.
So good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and thank you for listening.
If you like what you hear, please be sure to like and subscribe. Learn more about Sonoma County and all that we have to offer here.